you doing today? Today is gonna be pretty short. I have a lot I have to do today, and I was up very late last night dealing with some stuff, so I am officially sleepy. I'm really tired, but that's okay. Babel, Morgan, good morning. Welcome in. Brontë is still hanging out with friends, but I'll be with you soon. Well, thank you, Brontë. I hope you have a wonderful time with your friends. Please don't rush to be here. Let me make sure I have my correct pen. I now have a whopping grand total of 3 tablets, so I have to make sure I'm grabbing the right pen. Is that a little bit better, Babel? I had to do a fresh install of my OBS, which is why things look a little bit different. So it also fiddled with my audio, unfortunately. But let me know if that's any better. Well, how's that? Is that any better? I didn't have time last night to set up my noise gate to make it so that the music gets quieter when I speak. So that's part of it. So I'll just make the music quiet today and I'll fiddle with it. I had to do a whole bunch of computer stuff in the middle of the night because updates got pushed and it was really, really annoying. So I lost all of my settings for a bunch of stuff. My mics are not reading anymore, so I have to get a new mic. So that's why it's going to be short today, because of tech issues. Alright, is that any better? Let me know, I'll try to fiddle with it. But yeah, I lost, like, access to all of my emails, so I had to get everything back. I got signed out of all of my socials, so I had to fix that. My OBS was corrupt and didn't have, like, the plugins wouldn't register and it wouldn't update, so I had to do a fresh install. Yeah, some sort of Windows update that I was putting off because I knew it would break stuff pushed through last night, and it broke everything. Because of course it did. Because of course Microsoft breaks everything that they touch. So yeah, I was working on just fixing everything for like 3 hours last night. I was gonna go to bed, and then as I was literally shutting down my computer for the night, it's like, we're gonna restart instead and install an update for you. I'm like, oh no, it's gonna break everything, and if I wake up to that tomorrow, I'm gonna be really upset. So I just had to stay up until like probably, so what was it, like maybe 1:30, 1:45? I had to stay up fixing just absolutely everything. And not all of it's fixed yet. I still have stuff that I haven't fixed. But I fixed as much as I can. None of my files appear to be damaged. I have everything related to like writing on like saved in multiple places. So it's saved on cloud storage, it's saved on this machine, it's saved on a backup drive. So my writing is all fine. That's not in trouble. So like that's fine. I don't have to worry about that. But everything that I use like on a daily basis is just a disaster. So yeah, good old Microsoft just ruining everything that they touch, but that's okay. And Morgan, I did see both of your emails, so don't worry, they are coming through. I just haven't had time to respond to you, but thank you very much. Your emails were very kind. I'll get you a proper response here probably later this evening or possibly tomorrow, just depending on how busy I am. But yeah, don't worry, the emails are coming through. I know I did post across a couple of socials that if you purchased the hardback from Amazon, which is through a different printer, Amazon has a separate printer from my other, and you got the black cover when you were expecting to get the red one, send me an email or use the contact form, either one, with your receipt from Amazon, and I can replace it. But no one's contacted me yet. So if you want to have that cover swapped, if you want the replacement, please do send me an email with your receipt. You'll need to like contact me first. Like you'll need to send like an initial email just so I have your contact info. But then, well, once you reach out to me, I can walk you through the rest of it and I can get you sorted. So if you've been considering doing that, please do go ahead. All right, let me get my pen here. Now, the thing that I haven't considered is that possibly, because of that kerfuffle that I dealt with last night, my drivers might not be working for this tablet. I didn't test it before starting stream. That would have been a very good idea, but I did not do that. So let me see. And fingers crossed, if all goes well, by the time next stream rolls around, I will have a better mic set up. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see here. Hello, Brontë. I'm glad you could make it. Did you have a good time with your friends? Yeah, I've been meaning to get a different mic for a while, just because I want to record some voiceover for other videos for the YouTube channel, and I've been recording them just with the mic I'm using right now, which is my headset mic, and it's not good. And I had a desk mic um, just like a cheap one, but it broke, and even when I've tried to use it recently, it's just a junky microphone, and it's not worth trying to get it to force it to work. So let's see. Food is good. Maybe I'll come back in January. Why January? Is the food connected to January? I'm confused. Alright, let's see. I need to... So my thought with this is that I might put a background on it, but I have to decide what I want to do for said background. Bronte's skirt is also probably a little bit too long. Like, I think the skirt that I gave her there would be like a floor length skirt or like an ankle length skirt. Hers is a little bit shorter than that. But I made it that long because I didn't want to draw her feet. I don't know. We'll see. Then again, she has really, really cute shoes. So as much as they're a pain to draw, I'm like, I kind of want to draw them because they're little like Victorian boots and they're really cute. I don't know. Maybe I'll draw them. You won't be able to see very much of them anyways from this angle, but I don't know. I think it'd be very cute. Let's see. Let's see how this pen is behaving, because this is a new tablet with hopefully a driver that is still functioning. However, it does feel different. Oh gosh, yeah, it's a bigger tablet, so I have more room, but that means I have to move my hand further than I'm used to. So it's a very different physical experience to draw with. That feels fine. It's just that I'm having to move my hand really far. I can tweak that if I really, really want to. I first wanted the red cover, but honestly I'm happy with the black one now. It's not like the exteriors book changes the quality. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you like it. So, I ran into some shenanigans with Amazon because Amazon does not offer dust jackets on their books if you're a self-publishing author like I am. So I knew I wanted a dust jacket version. So there is a version of the book that is hardcover that comes with a dust jacket. And that version has the black cover inside a wrap that has the paperback's cover printed on it. So if people would like that version instead, if you got that black version and you originally wanted the red, basically the two options are you can wait for me to try to get Amazon to print another hardback that has the other cover on it. For a lot of reasons, that takes a very long time. I've already requested the proofs to be printed and sent to me, but that takes about a month and a half, because when you're requesting a proof print, it is at the very, very, very bottom of the priority list. So you go straight to the back of the queue and you have to wait a very long time, which is fine. But that's assuming the print looks okay, and the print quality is very hit or miss. I think I had to go through 7 or 8 prints of the hardback and the paperback on Amazon combined. And each time I have to pay for those, so it was not cheap to do that. Because when you're printing, you have to create the document that the printer will use. And it lays it out for you. It's like, here, I'll use a visual example. So they give you tell them how many pages your book is. You tell them what dimensions you want it to be. Like if I want my book to be 6 by 9, which is like a standard size, they give you this document, and it's got all of the tolerances for printing laid out on it. That's this is a really bad example, but you get the idea. So it has these dotted lines and so on, and it tells you like the dimensions of each thing. Obviously this is the spine of the book, this is the front cover, and this is the back cover. and you have certain areas where you cannot place any material. So you have to fill in the whole thing, but nothing outside of this area actually gets printed on the book. But you still have to fill in all of this empty space for the printer to align things correctly. And as you can imagine, when it is a print-on-demand service, it's not extremely, what's the word? It's not very precise. So especially when you have a symmetrical cover, which is what Immolation has. So if like I'm doing this from memory. So there's like a little lady down here, but she's praying, and she's got like a very pretty dress. And then there's like some snakes. There's like a little pedestal with like a lady kneeling on it. She's got a little cross. I think she has a cross. And then we have like a knight over here. Just a little guy. Then what? Then I think there's empty space, and then there's a cloud with some angels. And then I think that's like most of it. I don't know. I'm probably forgetting some things. And then there's a star up here, and then all of that is mirrored onto this side. And then there's like some blood dripping down and like writing on the back. Anyways, because all of this is like one asset that I've layered together and then mirrored in order to create the opposite side, where this corner ends up is really important because it has to be symmetrical with the other side of the book, where the spine begins. And because the print process is not precise, sometimes this corner ends up way over here in the area that is not going to be printed, even though I follow the template exactly. It's just the nature of the printing process that sometimes it doesn't come out right. I've actually had books that arrived to me, printed proofs that arrived to me, like, let's say this is like the book, right? So that's the book. And I've had it arrive to me where the print itself on the front of the book is actually off like this. So the whole image is like down, and there's just an empty space of like white, like the cardboard color that they use for the cover of the book. So trying to extend this symmetrical image that I've created so that if the print slips like that, I can at least have some cushioning around it. That's a very clumsy way of explaining it, but that's part of why it takes so long for me to get a print sent to me and then test it and then make sure it's okay and then have it go live. And obviously I'm not going to tell people, yeah, you can just go buy the hardback on Amazon and it'll have the other cover on it now. I'm not going to tell people that because I don't want them to buy something that I haven't verified in person. So all that to say, if you want the paperback cover, which is the red illustrated one, on the hardback, you have two options. You can wait for me to get the print from Amazon, which might be next month, might be February. Once I get it, I might have to wait another month for them to send a new one after I make corrections to account for their poor printing process. Or you can have the Ingram Spark printed version, which is a different printer. It's not printed by Amazon. And that has a hardback with the black book wrapped in a dust jacket that has the paperback cover on it. So those are your two options. That was a very long-winded way of explaining it. But the dust jacket versions do not have a gloss cover because that was expensive to do. Through Ingram Spark. So they have a matte cover. Babel has that book. She could tell you. It's a matte cover with the dust jacket around it versus the gloss cover, which is through Amazon. Those books are a little bit more expensive to print, um, which is why they're more costly, but also I earned like 23 cents a book, if that, actually. I think I have to go, they sent me an email. I have to go update the prices of the book again because they're changing the pricing for printing again, because of course they are. And I think I have the books set as low as I can possibly make them go without having to actually pay the printer money every time I quote unquote sell a book. So I don't make any profit from those books. I make a little bit of profit from Amazon because Amazon is a retailer versus Ingram Spark, my other printer, is a wholesaler. So the royalty things are a little bit different. But I get like 25 cents maybe per book sold through Ingram Spark, and then I maybe get $2 per book sold through Amazon. So there's a little bit of fun behind the scenes stuff for you, because I'm sure you were all very curious about that. Let's see. I don't know what background I want to put on this. The angle I have them at. Cynthia, welcome in. How are you doing today? No, that doesn't really feel right. I think what I'd have to do. Because I have them lined up to be like going that way. So I guess technically his foot should be a little bit lower, but it's fine. Going back to my hometown for Christmas. That's exciting. We are staying right here for Christmas. Which I'm perfectly fine with. I'm pretty sure we'll be going to I don't know if we'll be going to my mom's house or my sister's house. Both my mom and my sister enjoy hosting people. So they like hosting holidays. But my sister's house is a little bit bigger than my mom's, so it's usually a little bit more comfortable to host people at. But I don't know. We'll see if my sister feels up to that. My mom hosted Thanksgiving, so I'm kind of assuming she'll host Christmas. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what would look good at this angle in terms of a background. Because I could make this his office. That might look nice. So let me, if I do that. I'll just sketch in the idea because I guess, yeah, the intensity with which Brontë is looking at him and is holding onto his hand, I feel like she would really only behave that way in private. She tries to not draw attention to herself too much when she's out and about, so this strikes me as more of a private conversation, so it would make sense for this to be at his office. Let me think. How many people? Let's see. So it'd be myself, mom, my dad, that's 3. My sister and her husband is 5. So I think it's only going to be the 5 of us. I don't think his family, my sister's in-laws, I don't think they'll be coming up. I'm not entirely sure. I'm really back now. Welcome back, Brontë. Please tell your friend a very happy birthday for me. Maybe a tree in the background or inside a building or room. Both stellar options, because I am a big fan of any kind of garden setting. Just no spoilers. But just wait until you get to read volume 2 because it's so cute. Let's just say that Brontë and Cyril get to spend a lovely amount of time in the gardens together, and that makes me very happy for them. Alright, let's see. So, I really should make them a little bit more transparent so I can kind of see what I'm doing, but it's fine. They're just going to be vague shapes at first. If I was a real artist, I would make a vanishing point, but I'm just going to eyeball it. Look at that pose, the scene, amazing. I really like their dynamic. I love them very much. And don't look at the blob hands because I'm gonna fix those. I'm gonna fix those later. I'm really happy with how his cassock came out in this one, and her dress. I really like that you can kind of see. This is me being like a historical fashion nerd, but I really like that you can see the structure of her dress in this sketch, because she's got the skirt. Oh gosh, you can't see that. Hold on. She has the skirt that goes up underneath the bodice of her dress. She's got her little belt, and then all on top of that, she has the habit that kind of drapes over it and is loose fitting. It just makes me happy. I love the structure of historical garments, and I really like any opportunity that lets me actually draw them. I'm so excited for volume 2, and it's so hard not to just yap about it. I'm working. I'm not sure what the right term would be. I had a late night, so take it easy on me. There's a word on the tip of my tongue that I just can't remember. But I'm working on volume 2 and volume 3 at the same time, because obviously there's a lot of foreshadowing and connected events between the two, and so on and so forth, because my goal is to make it so that the gap between publishing volume 2 and volume 3 is shorter than the gap between publishing, of course, volume 1 and volume 2. So that's kind of my plan, because I'm playing around with some stuff that I thought was going to be in volume 3, and it might end up in volume 2. It might get very spicy very quickly. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm really excited. I wish I could talk more about it without it being spoilers, but there's actually quite a bit of material that was cut from volume 1 that is now in volume 2, which makes me really happy, because there were a lot of scenes, especially between Brontë and Cyril, that I really liked, but that didn't make it into volume 1. So I'm really happy that I can still use those. And hopefully you will enjoy them in the future when you get to read them. Release date of volume 2. I don't have a release date yet. I'm hoping next year, fingers crossed, but that is also dependent upon my editor, and how quickly she can kind of get me in. And also that I can afford it, because editing is expensive. But yes. I'm hoping next year. This year has been pretty slow because of just everything, because of all of 2025. Uh, but yeah, hopefully next year, fingers crossed. We'll see how things go. I'll be updating more frequently on like YouTube and stuff as things kind of come together. I'm very excited though. She's got a wonderful dress. I'd like to try on historical pieces one day. They're so much fun. I remember my sister and we went. I forget where we were. I think she might have been looking for a prom dress. This was years and years ago. She might have been looking for a prom dress or something, and she wanted me to go with her. So we were, just kind of puttering around looking for prom dresses, and we went to this little boutique that actually had, like normal, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, they had normal modern prom dresses, like what you would expect, or at least for us back when we were in high school. And they were all fine, but they also had on a mannequin this like historical, like not really prom dress, because I guess it wouldn't be prom, but like an evening dress that I think was like from 1910s or thereabouts. And I was looking at it and I was like, wow, that's gorgeous. It was like this burgundy gown. It was really, really nice. It was very petite. And I was looking at it. I'm like, wow, that's really, really cool. And then I eventually convinced my sister to try it on, and it fit her perfectly. And she was like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. I'm like, what do you mean? That is a gown from 1910 that you just got to try on. What do you mean? It's fine. But, she's not excited about historical fashion the way I am, which is fine. Not everybody has to get excited about it, but I do. I get excited. Okay, I am actually going to give in and try to make them a little bit more transparent so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so these are the lines. Actually, the lines can stay. I just need to hide that. Okay, there we go. I'll make it a little bit later. Alright. I should also probably make my brush bigger to make my life a little bit easier. I will have to look up some actual historical references for Cyril's desk to make sure that it feels accurate. This perspective is not super fun, but it is what it is. That is too steep of an angle though, so. So let's pretend that there are drawers and stuff over there. You can't see any of this because it's behind them, so it doesn't matter. Desk. You'd be able to see, like, inside where the leggies go. Oh, and I guess technically this would be like, kind of like, I don't know, whatever. I'll figure out the design of the desk later, because that's not accurate to what would be in his office, but close enough. I might put like his chair or something like over here, because he like set his chair aside or whatever, pulled it aside. It's a really simplified chair, but we're just going for the vibes. I can't squeeze that in. Okay, there we go. I was like, oh, what's that? That's why I was trying to talk about her gown. Hold on. Oops. Spicy pepper? Well, there's both spicy pepper and spicy in the sense that the story, I don't want to say gets intense, but it kind of gets a little intense kind of quickly. I don't know. I'm a very poor judge because it's my writing. But yeah, let's just say that Volume 2 gets a lot happens. Now I'm going to try, because Volume 1 obviously has a lot of world building and setup, and it's trying to introduce you to a lot of concepts. Um, so don't be intimidated when I say that Volume 1 doesn't have a whole lot of information in it. It's like the very bare bones. There's a lot more information about this world and a lot more context that you are missing that you're going to have to get in Volume 2. Um, so please don't be intimidated. I promise I'm going to try to make it easier than Volume 1 was. Because I know Volume 1 was a little bit of, it was a big bite to take of the world, but we're gonna kind of be, what are they, again, there's something on the tip of my tongue, but I didn't sleep last night, so I can't remember what the word is. No, take me with you to be the mannequin. We don't have such shops here. I was really surprised because normally when I think of like antiques and things of that nature, I'm thinking like, oh, I would have to go to an antique store. But this was just like a little consignment boutique, and it had everything else in the store was like prom dresses from like 2 or 3 years ago, because that's normally what like a prom dress boutique does, like wedding gowns and prom dresses from a couple of years ago, because people will buy them and wear them for 1 or 2 events in high school, and then they'll donate or sell them to a consignment shop, and the cycle repeats. But then they just randomly had this beautiful like 1910s gown, and I was so beside myself. And it fit my sister perfectly. Like they couldn't lace it entirely, um, like because of course it's they're adjustable in that way. Um, but yeah, I wish I still had the phone that had those pictures, but I definitely don't still have that phone. But yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's stunning. And my sister's like, whatever. And then she goes and buys some cheap prom dress, and I'm like, ah, but that's fine. That's fine. Okay, I'm trying to think of how I decided that I was going to lay out Cyril's office. So I know for his office, basically the way that it's kind of set up, that desk is not necessarily in scale, but this is just to get the idea. He has his desk, and then behind the desk, there's like a tall window that overlooks the city. So that will be like a window, and it's probably going to be like one of those split arched windows. Some cool guys. Oh my, I'm excited. Why didn't you sleep? So at the end of the night, quote unquote end of the night, last night, I shut down my computer as I normally did, and it was like, we're updating your computer. Please wait for it to restart. And I'm like, oh great. So Microsoft finally pushed through an update that I had been just telling it to not do for a really long time, and it broke a bunch of my stuff. Um, it like cleared out a bunch of like data from all of my like cached files and so on. So it logged me out of everything. It logged me out of all of my emails, so didn't have access to my emails. It killed like all of my settings. I spent a good few hours with a friend of mine in call working on CSP, which is my other drawing software. Today I'm using Sai, but I also have CSP. And I spent hours with my friend in there as they were walking me through, like, okay, here's how you can change your UI, here's how you can change your settings. We did all of that. All of that's gone. So I have to do all of that all over again. All of my brushes, all of my settings, they're all gone. Same with Sai, all of my brushes, all of my settings were gone, so I had to repair it. All of my like recent history of like the drawings that I was working on, all gone. So it just everything got screwed up, and I got locked out of like my email accounts because Google is like, oh, you're trying to access your account. How dare you? So I had to, I literally had to, in the middle of the night, it was probably 1 in the morning, I had to go dig out my previous phone, the one that has the screen falling off of it, because that phone was the only way I could validate my Google accounts to get back into my email, because it just cleared all of my data. So I fixed everything, and I have it all up to date with like my new phone and everything. But yeah, it was just a nightmare that I was up sorting. And then obviously once I was finished fixing everything, I was so high strung that I couldn't sleep. So I was just laying in bed like, ah. So that was my night. I hope you had a better night than I did. But it is what it is. It's over now. So he's gonna have, well, you won't be able to see any of this because he's standing right in front of it, but whatever. So he'll have stuff on his desk. And then over here, so, quick question. In the book, Brontë depends on the medicine Cyril gives her to live like a human. That means she can also have normal body functions like getting older or even menstruation. That's true. So she grows older. That's like the first really big thing, is that she grows older. And that is a consequence of a couple different things. Cyril's medicine plays a part in that, but the other part of it is that she's not a full-blooded vampire, she's a dhampir, so she's actually only half of a vampire. And Cyril, it's not explicitly stated, but you can deduce this as you read, is trying to moderate like how much of her human side shows versus how much of the vampire shows, because he's trying to, I would say that he's trying to maintain balance, but he's not. He's trying to eradicate all of the vampiric traits, because in his mind he's trying to see, well, I would say in Cyril's mind, in the church's mind, because Cyril is doing this because it's what the church wants him to do, and he believes and follows this church, so he's doing what he believes is in the church's best interest. He's trying to see if it's possible, if someone is half vampire, half human, can you subdue the vampiric traits and basically turn this person into someone fully human? And of course, in his mind, and does that mean they can then be saved? That's his approach. So yes, Brontë has like normal human functions to an extent. This actually gets into material that we'll cover in Volume 2, because vampires don't menstruate. They actually don't have that function. Brontë is a halfling, so she might, or she might not, depending on if she took her medicine in time. But that is actually something that we get into in Volume 2. We're going to focus, Volume 2 focuses more on like the vampires and kind of how they work. You were just lightly introduced to them in Volume 1. In Volume 2, we kind of really get into like their physiology, how they work. You're going to spend a lot more time with Zamira and Esther, who are the vampires, some of the vampires that you meet in Volume 1. And we'll kind of see like what shenanigans are they up to, because they're doing something. No way, what a nightmare. I'm so glad you managed. Yeah, it was a nightmare. As soon as I saw the "we're getting things ready for you" screen, I was like, oh no, it's breaking everything and I can't do anything about it, because I'm still on Windows 10, which is, I'm sure, part of the problem. Let me think. I was gonna add in like a bookcase here, but actually, if you've read Immolation, Cyril's desk kind of faces away from the library, so like if you were to turn and go that direction, or if you were to turn and go that, that's a horrible arrow, but you get the idea. If you were to turn around, you would see the library. That's where basically all of the books are. So over here, I thought it would be cute because it's mentioned a little bit. It's like there's literally like one line, um, but there's basically like a little cabinet over here. Let's say that it has a little cabinet, a little shelf, because I would like to think that Cyril has these are the worst potted plants. uh, Cyril has his Anyways, this is going to be a cabinet, and Cyril's going to have some potted plants over here. He'll probably have some other stuff over here too. But he's definitely, if you were to ask Cyril, is this quote unquote his room and his chambers? He would say no. He's just a caretaker for them, and the next archbishop will come in, and it'll be theirs. So he is in the interim while he is the person that lives here. He has filled it with plants, lots and lots of plants. So he's got a little like plant cabinet over here, and if you've read far enough in Immolation, this is the cabinet that he comes to get the little watering can that he gives Brontë. So I'll put that over there. I think that'd be a cute touch. And it can maybe be like overgrown with some vines and stuff, because Cyril loves a good vine. 2 weeks ago, when I was sick, one of my friends, a young priest, came to visit me and read your book out loud to me? What? You're telling me that my book was read aloud by a priest? This is about as terrifying as when one of my ARC readers said they were a vicar. I was like, oh gosh. Well, that's exciting though. It's really cool to hear about having my work read aloud by someone. That in and of itself is very, very exciting. I imagine the study he occupies that way. Yes, definitely the study. I mean, again, I'm not really drawing the library, but like the very first time that you see Brontë go to Cyril's study, the first thing she does is she's like, ooh, potted plants. And she goes over to the plants. We love that for her. Brontë does not have a green thumb. You're gonna see a little bit of that um, in Volume 2. I don't know what shape I want this cabinet to be. I'm just gonna do that for now. And we'll just say that there are like shelves or something in there. And then we'll have, this will all probably be pushed away from the wall a little bit to like just kind of give more depth to the room. That window is not at all drawn to the right perspective, but it also has smiley faces on it, so I'm not worried about it. And I think it'd be fun probably to put like some stuff on his desk. Was it molest? They say they don't kill vampires? Yeah, and then obviously I'll put like a nice rug or something down. I'm sure Cyril has like a nice rug underneath his desk. Obviously the little hassock I have already drawn with Brontë. This is the little, whoops. This is the little thing that he just keeps that beside his desk for anyone that comes up there. Which is usually Brontë. And then maybe if I want to do something kind of fun, I could do... Oh, you know what would be really pretty? That would be really pretty. Let's see. I don't really know how I'm going to sketch this in. I'll just make something very light. But what could be really, really pretty is if the lighting outside is like a really warm kind of gold peach sunset. That could be really, really pretty. And so then we could have like some really warm lighting coming in. Ah, that'd be really, really pretty, especially if I can do like some really deep greens with the plants. That'd be very, very pretty. And then we could have maybe like some plants in the foreground. This is like the world's worst. Some plants kind of in the foreground. These will all be like kind of blurred. And like maybe some hanging down. Because he has, to quote the book, which I don't have the book in front of me, I'm going off of memory, but to quote the book, he has a plant with heart-shaped leaves, which would be very, very cute. That's the one that Brontë likes. She doesn't know what that plant is called, she just likes that the leaves are shaped like hearts. She thinks it's cute, and she's so right. So maybe we'll have some of that hanging down. And then candles. Definitely going to be candles, probably on his desk. Candles with little lanterns or something. She's like me, shrub killers. She's gonna be trying her best. I believe in her. She's gonna do great. But yeah, I think that could look really cute. I might pull his chair away a little bit, so kind of bring it over here, and just maybe have it like, I don't know, something like that maybe. Just to kind of fill in this empty space. And all of that can kind of be blurred so it doesn't really take away from them. Some nice warm lighting. There will be stuff on the walls. And yeah, I think that could look really nice. Although, of course, that means they won't be grayscale anymore. I will have to color them in, but that's okay. He's a cool guy, and he said he likes the way you wrote the book. Oh, that's very kind of him. I'm really flattered to hear that. These are the worst potted plants I've ever drawn. Okay, hold on. That's gonna bother me. I need to fix those. So, let's see. And I guess if we're kind of basing this loosely off of... Oh, you know? Idea. I'm not exactly sure how well I'd be able to make this work, but... just for a sketch, let's give it a try. Because if I'm basing this off of the scene, kind of like the earliest scene you see with Brontë and Cyril in his study, is where she brings him the box that she keeps in the top drawer of her dresser that has all the medicine. And I want you to know. I want you to know that as I was writing, I calculated how often Brontë takes her medicine. And I gave the box and, like, okay, let me break this down. Cyril said that he was gone for 3 months. I had him repeat that a couple of different times so you got an idea of like how long he was away for. And that was pushing it for what Brontë was comfortable with. Because she was kind of getting right to the tail end of the medicine. And I specifically counted out how many vials of medicine she would need for that amount of time, so that I knew exactly how many vials she had left, so I knew how many Cyril had to give her of the ones that she had left. I think she ended up having 3 that were left. Again, I don't have the book in front of me. I could go get the book. I can see it. It's right across the room. But I'm not going to get up and get it. But yes, I calculated that to make sure that she had the correct number of vials of medicine. All right. And then, okay, so let's see. Right, so my idea was if we are basing this off of that scene, it would be kind of cool if we pull the chair away a little bit. I don't really know what style of chair this is going to be yet. It's like an office chair, but it's a little bit too big though, because it's not going to be that much closer to the viewer, so let's make it a little bit smaller. Because I'm thinking we could... Why did my music stop? There we go. I'm thinking what we can do is we can put Bronte's little box of medicine over here on the chair. And actually, what I think would be cool is if the box is kind of open. And then we can see all the little vials in there. I think that'd be cool. I'm not going to be able to fit the whole word. No! I was going to say box of mysteries, but you can't even fit that word. Nah, whatever. A little box of mysteries. But I think that could be cool, and that fills up that space pretty well, I think. Which page? Oh gosh, I don't know which page. I'd have to get the book. I don't even remember what chapter it is. I have chapter 1 memorized because chapter 1 went through so many revisions and changes. I'm like, I could probably recite all of chapter 1 to you from memory and get it pretty close. Okay, let's see. Where is it? I believe this is the... Is this the hardback or the paperback? This is the paperback. Alright. Hardback and the paperback are different. They have different page counts because they're different sizes. The paperback is... I believe it's 5.5 inches by 8.25, because that's a size that I personally like. But the hardback is 6 by 9 because they didn't offer 5.5 by 8.25. So let's see. I have the paperback. Love the attention to detail. I am nothing if not a sucker for some details. Let's see. Let's see. That's the morning after. Aha, okay, I was right. Well, not right. I was very close. I said that she had 3 vials of medicine left. In the book, she has 2. So she has 2 left. I knew that he was gone for 3 months. And then he asks her, she last ate 3 days ago. When he asks her if she's eaten, and when he says that she's last eaten like 3 days ago, he's talking about the medicine. She doesn't like referring to it as medicine, but so they just kind of got into this habit of him asking her if she's eaten, because he can ask that in front of other people, and she will know what he means without having to say, "Hey, you invalid, did you take your medicine?" over and over again, because she gets embarrassed by that. So they've started to refer to it as that, which you could say is very nice of Cyril to change his wording on her behalf. Perhaps he is just being nice, but perhaps he isn't. Who knows? Right, let's see. So yeah, she doesn't. She eats every couple of days. Basically, if she starts feeling like an ache in her throat, she'll know that she needs to be taking her medicine soon. It's more involved than that, but that's generally the process that Cyril has simplified it to, where her symptoms, shall we say, really don't get particularly exacerbated as long as she is, in fact, taking her medicine. There's a scene later in the book, depending on how far along you've read, where she starts feeling her symptoms quite badly, and she just downs one of the vials of medicine to stave off that feeling, and it works. We will get more detail on that in Volume 2. Alright, okay, so I was going to... What time is it? It's already 12. I probably have like half an hour, give or take. Alright, so let's see. I think... I'm trying to imagine... What are some nice little plants that Cyril could have? Cyril goes, I can fix her vampiric traits. I can fix her. Just trust me. I can fix her. He tries. He tries his best. And then Brontë has like a singular little bit of red in her eyes, and he's like, this experiment might be a wash. I don't know. But if you've read, again, this kind of like first scene with Brontë and Cyril in the study, you'll know that Cyril talks to someone after. Someone who knows what he's doing, because obviously Brontë, being a Dhampir, is a secret. So there's someone that he speaks to who knows what he's up to, and we can tell that Cyril isn't super thrilled about having to do it. And also, I am working on further animatics. However, I would like to hear your thoughts as people who have read the books. Well, the book. There's only one so far, but the others are coming. My approach with the animatics, which if you've watched Hellfire, Hellfire is a spoiler for the story of Immolation. So if you don't want spoilers and you have not yet watched Hellfire, don't watch it. It contains spoilers, and it contains spoilers for like further down towards the end of the story, like Volume 3 material is what's in Hellfire. So be aware if you have not watched it already. Most people who read Immolation have already watched Hellfire, so it is what it is. But just in case. But my hope with the upcoming animatics is, while they might be quote-unquote spoilers for the book, or the books, rather, I want them to be relatively minor spoilers, for lack of a better word, where it's not going to impact your enjoyment of the stories. Because, for example, in Volume 2, you're going to learn a little bit more about how Cyril became Archbishop. Because we don't really touch on that. We touch that it's weird that a hunter would become the Archbishop. That's weird. But we don't really talk about like how that played out. We're going to talk about that in Volume 2. I think I want like a big one back here. But the next animatic that I have planned will also be talking about, quote-unquote talking about. It'll be showing how Cyril became Archbishop. So that's kind of my approach. It's not something that's gonna like really spoiler the story, because yeah, we already know that Cyril's the Archbishop, because obviously he starts the story as the Archbishop. So that's my current approach. But let me know your thoughts. I feel like that's a fair compromise. So people who don't want to read the books and have never read the books can still enjoy the animatics, and hopefully people who do want to read the books and are reading them can still enjoy the animatics if they so choose. So that's my current thought. One of the Cardinals. Yup. Hello, Sue. Welcome in. And correct. One of the Cardinals. There are two. I affectionately call them Thing 1 and Thing 2. The Cardinals and kind of how they work, we might touch a little bit on it in Volume 2, but we're going to be spending a lot more time with the vampires and kind of what they're up to. And I mean, the Cardinals are going to be there, obviously. But I'm thinking that really like detailed Cardinal stuff will probably be a Volume 3 thing. because cardinals are also like the archbishop in that, excuse me, once a cardinal is made a cardinal, they serve the rest of their life. You don't retire from being a cardinal. You don't stop being one. You're a cardinal till you die, just like being the archbishop. So, because of that, it's very demanding, I guess, in some ways. But also, cardinals are different from the archbishop, at least in this particular church, because again, this church is weird. This church is very weird because it has Cyril there. Um, but the cardinals get to choose if they become a cardinal. Basically, they can be elected and suggested for the position, and it can be offered to them by like the archbishop at the time. They can offer the position if there's a need for a cardinal. You don't get to become a cardinal willy-nilly. There's like a set amount of cardinals that can exist at a given time, and then when one passes, then they can choose another one. But they at least get to choose. The Archbishop of Our Beloved Lady does not get to choose. So, poor Cyril. There is a belief in my culture that people with light hand are great with planting little green guys. Love to piece together what that's saying to Cyril about Cyril considering his love of punishment. Thing 1 and thing 2. Do you know who's who? So, it's not really a spoiler, so I'll just tell you. There is one distinct difference between the cardinals, but it doesn't really come up in the context of the story, because cardinals, when they become a cardinal, they give up basically everything. So they give up their gender, they give up their name, they give up their face. By that I mean they wear a mask so you can't tell who it is anymore, because they're not supposed to have any kind of identity outside of being a cardinal. That's it. That's all they are. So they relinquish their name, whatever their pronouns were. They give all of that up. That's part of becoming a cardinal. You have to be okay with doing that. So a cardinal is no longer like he or she is a cardinal. It's just they are a cardinal. But the two that are currently at Our Beloved Lady, the two that are currently serving as cardinals, one is a boy, one's a girl. So that's how I tell them apart. One's a girl, one's a guy. Beneath all of the robes and everything, you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at them. They're both affectionately. They're both very skinny. They're both pretty skinny little guys. Well, one's a girl, but you get the idea. That's how I tell them apart. One's a girl, one's a guy. I kind of know them slightly by their personalities, but other than that, they're interchangeable. They do the same stuff. And they're both very snarky, I guess is one of the words. They have an attitude. Becoming a cardinal just gives you an attitude. I think it comes with the job. Do you start writing books from the end? I do. Not exactly. So I don't write in chronological order. I do not start at the beginning and then end at the end. So that's not how I write, but I don't necessarily write from the end backwards either. I have a loose outline of important events, including the ending, that I know need to happen, and I generally know the order I want them to happen in, and then I will go through and fill in the things that I want to happen and that need to happen in between those impactful events, basically. So do I know how the entire story of Immolation ends already? Yes, the ending I already know. I already know how the whole thing's going to end. I am just kind of fine-tuning the path that we take to get there. Mischievous pair of little guys. It's true. Oh, I said mischievous. Mischievous. Did anyone else grow up pronouncing it mischievous? I think I learned that in elementary school, but then it's actually pronounced mischievous. There is no additional I in there. It's mischievous. Not to be confused with aluminium or aluminum. Does your country say aluminium or aluminum? I know in the United States we say aluminum, like aluminum foil instead of aluminium. I did. You still pronounce it that way? Mischievous? There's no I in like that second part. Mischievous. Eus. There's no I in there. It's just mischievous. Yeah, I was like, I think I was in high school when I learned that. I was like, what do you mean I've been saying it wrong? What do you mean? I think it was because it was one of those words that you would only, as a kid, you would only really hear it said aloud rather than reading it. Because it's a relatively big word, so when you're like a little kid and you kind of start hearing the adults around you saying that word, if they pronounce it that way, you're just going to learn to say it that way. Versus when you finally read it, you're like, yeah, whatever. English is a weird language. I'm sure it's right. We say, oh boy, illumin, oh my gosh, illumin, Ivea, Ivea. I'm probably pronouncing that very wrong. And then let's see, I think it would be really cute if we had another little guy up here. I forget what these are called. I think they're called string of pearls, but that I might just be forgetting. I don't know. Close enough. You know what? I'll take it. say fo oh boy. Fogli di aluminio? I'm hoping I said that relatively okay. Let's see. I think it'd be cute to have maybe. I like to think that Cyril, with his really fancy, super wealthy archbishop money, spends like a little bit of it on just like importing plants from far away. I mean, of course, no, he doesn't. He only spends his church money on church things. But like, yeah, no, we know he's buying his mom nice dresses. He's probably also buying himself some nice plants. Someone's gonna come along and audit the Archbishop's money usage, and it's just gonna be like a $500,000 bill to like 1-800plants.com or something. I'm sure Domingo would love to audit Cyril's spending and be like, he's buying an awful lot of women's clothing. And he's like, yeah, it's for my mother. Go away. No, I just bumped my mic. Don't mind me. what I'd kind of like to do, I have to think about how. I think one of the other things I'd like to add, I just don't know necessarily where I want it to go, is I want there to be some incense somewhere. I don't know if I want it to be in the foreground or the background. But there's usually always incense burning somewhere in his study. So it could be on his desk, or it could be like somewhere over here that's like off screen so that we get it kind of. That's in the background so you can't really see it, but there we go. Something kind of like that. I'm not sure, because that would kind of obscure the medicines. I don't know if I really want it there. I guess it could be on his desk. I don't know. I have to kind of think about where I want the sensor to be, so there can be some incense floating around. Those plants are gorgeous. We love a good greenhouse of an office. I say this as someone who has lots of plants. Most of them are fake, don't get me wrong. Most of my plants inside are fake because I actually have a very, very limiting lease on the little house that I rent. So I'm not risking it. Not risking it. The other thing I kind of want to think about is what I'm going to do for lighting. Because it would kind of be nice to have something like, because they're kind of like right in the center, there isn't really a good spot to put anything, but it could be nice to have like, I don't know. Something like that, just like some wall sconces that have some like glass lanterns hanging from them. I think that'd be cute. The vibe for Cyril's study is ultimate cozy. And you haven't even been upstairs to the loft yet. Because there is like a really nice cozy loft. That's where the cardinal was sitting upstairs and eavesdropping from. There's a loft upstairs that has like it's like an open, it's not like an enclosed room, it's like an open balcony that kind of looks over the rest of the study. And unless you like go all the way to the back of the library, that back corner, and you find that little staircase, you wouldn't even really notice that it was up there. Or at least you wouldn't really know how to get up there. Cyril doesn't use it too much, but it's very cozy, and I personally think he should use it more. And maybe he will in Volume 2. So that's your I'm trying to think of how to word this. That is your patented advice from me, the author, regarding how inconsequential something might seem in Volume 1, like the cardinal being up in the loft of Cyril's study. Something as inconsequential as that might actually just be something that's foreshadowing for Volume 2. So take that and be empowered to nitpick it and look for little things. Because odds are, if it's in there, it's because it's a setup for something. You'll find that out about my writing. Alright, and then I think... So in the Hellfire animatic, which was the start of this whole project, and I thought it was just going to be a silly little thing I did for Halloween, and we all know how that ended. I actually have his desk basically up against a wall. So you can kind of see, like, there's books against the rear of it, and a cross on the wall that he kind of walks by. And that works for the purpose of the animatic, because the desk is doing more to illustrate his character and things about him than it is to be serviceable in a storytelling context. That said, I think he should have, like, his documents, perhaps a whole stack of documents, because he hasn't filed his taxes yet this year. Definitely some candles. We'll definitely have... That's a terrible candelabra, but, like, you get the idea. Definitely gonna have some candles. And probably, like... If he's gonna have a quill on his desk, then he needs to have, like, the slanted, like, writing thing. Lectern? Lecterns are for books, but whatever. We'll call it a lectern. So we'll say that he has a little lectern, and like a quill pen, like an ink pot built into it because he's very fancy. Stacks of paper, all that good stuff. That looks better already, kind of filling in his desk with stuff. I like how that looks. I think that balances it better. Do you think that Cyril could be a farmer in another life, making and growing plants instead of being a hunter? Absolutely. I think that in some alternate universe out there, Cyril is very happy to just keep a lovely garden and tend to things and live a nice, peaceful life. I think there is a version out there of him who is a big fan of that. Everything matters. It's true. It's true. Everything matters. But yeah, I do like that better. The candelabra just makes me think of my candelabra that I really need to fix. And I'm only thinking about it because I had to dig through my storage to get my phone out last night. But I have this really quite pretty candelabra that it's not like a real antique by any means. It's got like modern screws and stuff on it, or at least semi-modern screws on it. But it's a really, really lovely piece, and it's broken, and I really, really need to get it fixed. I might just like take it over with me on like Christmas and either conscript like my dad or my sister's husband to be like, hey, I know you've got tools and I don't have tools. What can we do to fix this thing? Because I keep really wanting to, I really want to display it because it's really lovely. We'll see. All that to say, Cyril's gonna have a better looking candelabra. And let's see here. I'm wondering if he has a small sofa. He definitely does in the study. Let's see. So you wouldn't be able to see it from this angle, but I'll kind of illustrate how at least I picture the study, and then I'm gonna be wrapping it up here. So let's see here. So let's say, do I know the exact dimensions of the room? No, of course I don't. Let's just give like a... This is really weird for me. I have to move my hand a lot further than I'm used to. Um, let's see. Oh, could you could you hear my keyboard? uh, I have um, I have fallen headfirst into this hobby, and I now have one, two, three, four, five keyboards. And I am enjoying each of them immensely. But anyways, all right, let's see here. So the way that that's probably too big. That's also probably too big. Something maybe like that. I don't know. This is not going to be drawn to scale. I don't have that information. But these are like the doors. So there's a pair of double doors. This is where you enter. So this is all like the rest of his chambers, right? So it's like a suite where he has, you know, like a bedroom and yada yada yada, right? So the other parts, all of this are the other parts of the chambers for the Archbishop, which again, Cyril is only the steward of temporarily. It's not his, doesn't belong to him. He is just the steward of it temporarily. So he's filled it with lots of plants. So the study, oh my gosh, there's something in my eye. Okay. So the study, the way that at least I mentally have it laid out, is you come in through these double doors, and the shelving that we drew with like the plants and stuff is going to be like over here-ish. And then his desk is over here. No, wait, hold on. I'm doing this wrong. Yeah, no, I'm doing it way too small. That's my problem. I'm like, no, hey, hang on, that's wrong. It's much... The room is bigger than that, so I have to think about... Because basically... So many, enjoy each of them. I am enjoying each of them immensely. Each of them feels different. The one that I'm typing on today has a different profile keycap, and I really enjoy that. But yeah, I definitely tripped and fell like headfirst into this hobby. And as someone who, my other hobby involves extremely long wait times, it's been so funny to hear people complain like, oh, you have to wait a month for that keyboard? That's not worth it. And I'm here like, I have been waiting for over a year, and I still don't have a shipping estimate for one of my collectibles, so I don't want to hear it. Anyways, okay, let me just quickly kind of break this down. So the way that I picture it is the room is basically split in half, and I was drawing it way too small the first time, so ignore what I did the first time. The room is kind of split in half, and basically this half is where the loft is. So there's like... The room is quite tall, and then half of it is kind of covered. And underneath that, this is where the library, quote-unquote library, is. So there's shelves, like so. And there's books on either side of the shelves, and there's books along the wall, and so on. And Cyril's got, like, plants and stuff hanging down from, like, what it would be... the loft, I guess, but like there's not the banister, but whatever. He's got plants all over there, right? So that's just the library. That's like the personal library filled with all sorts of stuff. You would enter over here. There's going to be the shelf, and then there's like this really big window, and that's where his desk is. That's his little chair. And then over here, there's a fireplace. That's a fire. So there's a fireplace, and then there's like a little sofa that faces that fireplace, and like a little table. That's like the very loose idea of like how the study is laid out. And there's stuff over here, I'm sure. There's like furniture and so on, but that's the general layout. So, and then Bronte's little hassock goes over here. So that's the loose layout of how the study works. If I could build it in like a 3D space, that would be amazing, but I don't have that capability right now. I will just daydream it. But yes, this little area right here, extremely cozy. And then if you go like all the way to the back corner, like back here. There's like a little door, and there are stairs, and that's how you get to the top floor of the loft. This study looks like a book from above. It's true. And some of Bronte's books. Don't know about that. Cyril would chase her little romance novels. He'd be like, "Get those out of here." Be like, "Absolutely not, young lady. Don't even think about it." And then he reads one of them, and he's like, but yes, that is gonna have to do it for me. I have a bunch of chores and things that I have to do today. Oh my goodness. But thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. I hope you had a wonderful time. It was great to chat with all of you. Thank you so much for your support for Immolation, for this story. It really does mean the world to me. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Hopefully I will see you next time. I stream every other Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or Daylight Time, because we're in Daylight Savings, whatever. 11 a.m. Pacific Time. I may be dual streaming, whatever it's called. I have it set up so that I can stream to both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, if I so please. So if you are someone who prefers to watch on Twitch, then you are welcome to do so, because I'm going to be duo streaming, multi-streaming, whatever they call it, in the future. No guarantee on when that's going to happen, but just know that I'm capable of doing it, and hopefully next time there will be a nice mic. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yes, thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. It was a pleasure to host you, as always. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time.